What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we have a very special video for you guys. Today Matt's gonna go over how to build the Javelin from basically the flat sheet metal as it comes in to the finished product. If you guys are looking to get a Javelin or any bike from Spark Cycleworks, use Shawver films, link below, save you $100. I'm excited about this one guys, let's get right into it.
So we haven't done this before. I've been wanting to show people how the bike actually goes together. And so we kind of broke it all out into its individual pieces, and I figured we'd go step by step to show you how a frame actually gets made. And yeah, so the first thing is just taking a look at these different components, right? So the Javelin has two of these large side pieces, and the first thing that we do is we put a bend right at that pivot so that we can get to that head tube. Everything else uses this system called tab and slot. And so basically each piece has a tab or a little section that stands up and it goes into a slot. That allows us to not use a jig of any kind. And essentially all we're going to do is we're going to take these bolts and they're going to go through the various holes on the frame, and then we're just going to assemble it like a big jigsaw puzzle.
So why is that the trickiest one?
Just because it's like on the external. So this one is just 1/4 inch steel. It adds a lot more strength because this is where the shock is going to get mounted, right? So we didn't want to mount the shock onto 1/8 inch steel. It just is too bendy. One cool thing about this, like if you feel the pieces in their raw state, they feel pretty flexible. But once we get it all together, the entire thing really tightens up. It's like a soda can. And then when they weld it, the heat from the welding process just like tightens everything even more. So it's kind of this interesting thing.
So these things come off after it's built?
Yeah, so
after it's welded? Correct.
So we use the same bolts for every frame. We got a whole set of them. And yeah, so we just deliver it to our welder and they put it together. And then we take the bolts out and then we go from there. One thing we're trying is, putting the riv nuts in beforehand. So we'll do some riv nuts in a little bit, but usually when we do the whole frame and then get it painted, putting the riv nuts in afterwards has proven to be a very difficult process. And so we're trying to see if we can do it beforehand and then paint it. We don't know if that's gonna be a problem or not, so we have to experiment. To put a frame together like this, I can do in about 10 minutes, and then the welder will be able to weld the whole bike up in 45 minutes, versus cutting all the tubes to perfect size, adding them to the jig, doing all the round cuts can be very difficult. You're talking 1/5 of the time, probably, to do a frame this way. Powder coating, yeah, he usually asks us to give him a week, because he does other jobs too.
So now you're putting wing nuts on.
Yeah, so what will happen is we'll slowly bring the thing into tension. This is one of the kind of little tricky parts to it. It's keeping all this tension on. It's kind of our little secret on how it works.
Not so secret anymore.
No. Yeah, a lot of people have been wondering like how the hell it's even possible. Right? And then the head tube is right to your side. You want to hand me that? And
super gnarly,
yeah,
ultra super gnarly duty.
Yeah,
Holy crap.
This is being machined by a company called Paragon, which is from California, and they make,
shout out
Kelly. They make all like really nice bicycle components, and we contracted them out to do these for us. But yeah, dude, it's like,
feel that, bro.
It's heavy duty.
Yeah. That's like the weight of a bicycle frame. It's like some of these frames are like sub 10 pounds. Anyway, but you can see the laser cutting, like if I pop this in there, like look at how close that all fits together, right? Look,
very satisfying. It's
very satisfying. And so the welder, they don't have to do like any filling or anything like that. They just can tack it all together. Mount this onto the frame. They can just hold it by hand and tack, and go from there. This is the base frame. You can pick it up. It's still pretty heavy. Yeah, besides the cosmetic panels, this is the entire frame. You know, you have 3 of these, 3 of these kind of, or sorry, 1 of those, 3 of these, 2 of those. But these are all the components. Trying to restrict it down to this amount took a long time. Like if you look at some of the old prototypes, there was like 3 times this many components. So yeah, this is what it would look like after we got it done. We transport it to the welder. After the welder, we would just take the bolts out. Then we transport it down to our powder coater, and it will go from this to this, right? So this one is peacock green. And so it transitions between green to blue and purple and black, depending on the light. It's kind of hard to tell in here because it's pretty dim. But you can see afterwards, all the riv nuts have gotten inserted into the frame, right? So that's where we're gonna put all of our panels into. We're gonna be getting the welds better and better and better. As you can see, like some of these are standing off. So to be honest with you, when I spoke to the welder, I didn't tell him to grind anything. I just told him to do what he wanted to do, kind of trust him. But you know, we put the video up and I was getting constant comments like, grind your welds. There's 2 schools of thought on grinding welds. So grinding the welds can lower the strength of welds. It does look better, but there's pros and cons to it. So we have to decide.
Personally, for me, I actually kind of like it. I kind of like the look of it.
It's interesting. Yeah, everyone has a different taste. The one thing about these, like this weld is slightly raised, so that's cool. But there are other spots where the weld is recessed, so you just add more filler material. Yeah, I mean, we're talking about the first 3 bikes that we made, right? So we're gonna learn a lot. This is the raw frame, but we do have all the panels to do. Some of them have riv nuts inserted into them. Some of them just get screwed into riv nuts that are on the frame already. So we're gonna take this piece as an example. This is the front part of the seat assembly. So what I need to do is put 2 90-degree bends into it, and then we're gonna insert riv nuts into this. So you can see on each part, I've added these little lines. See the little cuts?
Oh yeah, very tiny, yeah.
Okay, little tiny cuts. And those help me so that I can bring it over to our sheet metal bender and line it right up and bend on that. So let's go over to the sheet metal bender. This piece is particularly finicky because it's the seat, and if it's off by a little bit, it's bad news. And here. Right, so just a little bend. And then
How do you know how to bend it up that far?
just doing it like a million times, and that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. While we're here, by the way, this is how the parts arrive. So it all arrives from us, from Send Cut Send, as these kind of flat pack pieces. It looks like a model airplane kit, right? Kind of funny.
Yeah.
All the pieces, even like the bash guards and everything, are like this. So you can see we're gonna put a series of bends into this. We're gonna polish it up, things like that, make it look nice. All the badges, kind of cool. So everything starts flat.
So they put the little divots in for you.
Yeah, so all the drawings I have designed, I've added these into it, right? So that we know.
You guys can barely see it, but that's just where he's gonna bend it at.
Yep.
There, and there.
So then let's take this and put 2 riv nuts into it. And we used to do it all by hand, and then we bought another tool, and that made it a little bit easier, but it was super slow. And then we just sucked it up and bought this very expensive tool. And then we've broken this one many times. What's cool about this one is it does it all in one pop. I add that on there. That'll go right there. You ready?
Mm-hmm. Weird.
And I just added threads. So we have to figure out a way to ship this thing and not have it take, you know, an extra 2 or 3 weeks, have the bike arrive there nice and safe and everything, and be able to be affordable. So UPS limit is 150 pounds. This is above that. And so the way that we overcome it is we just do 2 shipments. And it makes it a little bit more complicated for the consumer, but it also saves them $500–600.
So they get 2 boxes.
They get 2 boxes.
And one has like a front tire and accessories and battery, and the other one has a frame.
Correct.
And everything else.
Right.
So you really did get the exclusive.
That's what I'm saying, bro.
Yeah. So yeah, no, Chris is right. So we will send the bike out without the front wheel and without the battery. So that eliminates 70 pounds right there, and easily allows the bike to be under that 150 pounds.
Right.
And in that form factor, it's smaller than the Bandit. So we can even fit it into the same boxes that we use for the Bandit, which will now be the same boxes we use for the Brute. So Teo and I are gonna start building one, but this one is kind of like an earlier production bike. It's not done yet and it has some older parts on it. But this will give you an idea of what the tracker version of the bike would be like. So it doesn't have a screen on it. It just has this kind of light bar. Keep in mind, I know you're looking at this video, there's a lot of rougher stuff on here. But you can get an idea of what like an acrylic panel would be like. That's kind of fun.
I can see your hand on the other side.
Yeah. So let's take this bike off and we'll get the other frame and we'll start mounting some stuff.
2, 3.
We're good?
Did you see my transition right there, Miss Reed?
No.
Dude. All right, so one thing that's kind of cool is we pre-assemble the whole swing arm assembly ahead of time, and you'll notice that it is black. So we use the same black swing arm for every bike, regardless of color. So if you get it in hot pink, gray, whatever it is, it's always gonna have a black swing arm. And this is really just helping our production. It was one of the ways that we were able to cut a lot of cost. That way we don't have to make every single swing arm unique to the bike. This just made things a lot faster. Yes. So this is not the exact one, but this is an M8. So this is the size of the axle used on the Bandit's swing arm. And this is a 5/8 high strength bolt. Grade 8 steel. Yes, Teo loves the fact that it's grade 8. And this is what we use for the axle for Javelin. There's just so much more centrifugal force having on this thing that we had to do this. We actually had a smaller size before that and it was getting loose. So this looks overkill, but completely necessary. You know, if you think about it, compared to like a mid-drive motor or something like that kind of bike, like the motor and everything is on here. And when we're talking about motorcycles, there's something called unsprung weight, right? Everyone's always trying to reduce unsprung weight. And unfortunately for hub drives, there's a lot of unsprung weight. And to take care of that, we got to put a big freaking axle bolt. It's also the reason why we love these brass bushings. So a lot of people have been like kind of confused by the brass bushings instead of bearings. And what I would encourage you to do is to walk up to a lot of I keep on wanting to say brand names, but walk up to some of the other big brand names and grab their rear wheel and do this. And watch that point. Because you will notice 9 times out of 10 on these bikes, if they're ridden more than 100 miles, those ball bearings have broken. So these bushings, this is technology that Honda was using like 1970s, 1980s. Like, it's like indestructible. And yes, the bushings will wear down over time, but we're talking thousands and thousands of miles. And all you got to do is knock one out, just knock it out and just press in a new one. And these bushings are $3. Yeah, I was talking to, there's a guy, his handle is Grinmoto, shout out to Grinmoto. And he was just working on a Honda CB from like 1975. And he was working on the swing arm and the bushings were perfect still. So it's like, impressive. Obviously if you're running like heavy equipment and things like that, like big tractors and stuff that use bushings, they wear them out quick, but this is good. So anyway, let's put one in.
Plastic.
Just put them in the bushings. Yeah, that was one thing we messed up last time.
Oh shit.
By the way, on the inside of this panel, there is a tube that connects both sides. So it's a closed system.
Sometimes I just like to do this and really.
Dude, you don't even have gloves on. That's the flavored grease too, isn't it?
It is. It's flavored. Oh, you just wiped it on your pants?
Oh, no. Oh my god, what are you doing?
Yeah, hold on, let me fix my zip.
Oh, God.
As soon as Teo gets involved, yeah, Jesus Christ.
Get the fuck in there.
See, I'm helping.
Let me get a.
Right. Yep. Go. Yep. Okay. Down. Okay. So yeah, you can see, all right, if you look straight down, there is enough room to fit a piece of paper. at the most between those bushings. Right?
Tight tolerance. And it's brass on brass there.
Yeah. You hold that, and then, so we're going to roll this back into the wheel chuck, and at the same time, we're going to get the head tube aligned up on these bearings. All right, ready? Get that, cool. Hold. So that's an overview of the bike. As time goes on, we're going to be adding more and more options for you guys to customize things, more and more options to upgrade things. And those will be kits that you can buy online. Like one example that I can tell you is we're using a standard 203 hydraulic bicycle brake on the back. That makes it easy for people to modify because if they already had that on their bike, they can just put their existing motor on. But the bike's pretty heavy, it's pretty fast, and we do think that people are going to want a motorcycle brake in the rear in the future. So we're making a pretty simple kit that allows you to put a motorcycle brake on the rear, give you a lot more braking power. No, this won't take us long. It'll probably be ready in a few weeks, right? So I'm just showing that as an example that we're not just going to launch the bike and we're going to sit back and be like, yeah, it's done, buy them. It's going to be this continuous improvement of, hey, we have a new brake kit coming out. Hey, we have a new side panel setup that has speakers built into it so you can play music through it. Hey, we have this new fairing on the back that has a charging port. Like, all those different things, the bike will be a system, just like Bandit was, that we can continuously improve it. So, I don't know. I hope you guys enjoyed learning how the bike goes together. It was fun showing you. And, yeah, thanks.
Thank you so much, Matt, for showing us all the things from first step to basically the end of the process.
Yeah.
I'm super excited I got to ride the bike today. That video's coming soon. So, yeah, much appreciated, bro. Thank you.
Thanks for coming, man.
Don't forget to use code Shawver Films. Link in the description. Peace.